Hey friends, welcome back to the Procrastination Solution Podcast, where we get real about what's holding you back and how to move forward with purpose, clarity, and a solid plan for success. I am your host, Nilo, and I help women just like yourself overcome procrastination for good and achieve your goals. It's October, and all month long, we're diving into the theme of face the fear. So honestly, behind almost every procrastination habit, there is fear. Fear of failing, fear of being judged. That's a big one. Fear of not doing it right. Those of us who have perfectionistic tendencies, we can relate to that. Or even sometimes fear of actually succeeding and not knowing what comes next. I never really understood when people said, people are afraid of success. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, how can you be afraid of success? But let me tell you, I have been sort of living that realization, the last few months, and there's something to this that I had no idea existed. And I do want to do a podcast about this. Like, why are we afraid of succeeding? And it's like the most fascinating thing. I find everything when it comes to coaching and mind management and self-improvement just so incredibly fascinating that when I figure something out about myself, or I see something, I notice something that I didn't before, I dive into it and I research it, I read about it, I check out books from the library, I try to see okay, what is this? How can I understand it from different angles? And the whole thing about fear of success is so real. It is so, tangible in a way. And I want to share more about it because I'm currently in the midst of learning it. So there is a thing called the fear of success, I promise you. So today I want to help you start thinking about, naming the fear that's been quietly driving your procrastination. Because once you name it, you can tame it. So the podcast title for this podcast is Name the Fear to Tame the Fear. It takes away its power. It immediately, you can notice the difference. If it is fear of perfectionism, if you name it, if you're like, I see you, fear of perfectionism, I see I'm trying to be perfect here. I see that if I don't get this right, my brain thinks something bad is going to happen. But anyway, I'm going to dive deep into this here with you today, but this whole thing about fear of different things that get in our way when it comes to achieving our goals. It is just so fascinating. At all not a judgment zone over here. We're all into inviting you in to come in and learn a little bit more about yourself and about mind management, and just see what you can take away from each episode. Even if you take a little bit away, my goal, I have met my goal. So the connection between fear and procrastination, let's talk about that. We don't always admit this, but procrastination is, it's self-protection. And we might not even be aware of it at first, right? But procrastination is self-protection. When your brain senses discomfort of any sort, whether it's the discomfort of uncertainty, the possibility of rejection, or the pressure of, performing, it sends out an internal danger signal. That's your nervous system doing its job, trying to keep you safe. That is totally 100% normal. So instead of taking the next step, you might, scroll on social media just for a minute or 10 minutes, or reorganize your workspace instead of starting the hard project. And I don't, really, really quickly, it's okay for you to reorganize and clean up your environment so you have, a clean space to work with. That's totally fine. I'm talking about, you might go deep into organizing a closet that you hadn't planned on working on. And, you're diving into this with no plans, with no idea of what you want to achieve by organizing this closet or getting rid of things or not, instead of working on a project that actually needs your attention right now. See what I'm saying? Like, you're avoiding one thing by diving into something else just to sort of occupy your time and just to sort of occupy your time, right? So all of these are ways that fear shows up disguised as logic. But here's what I want you to know. Fear only has power when it stays unspoken. Once you name it, you can start to see it for what it really is. It's just a thought. It is not a fact. It is not a reality until you actually act on it and bring it to fruition. It's not a reality. It starts out as a thought that then generates that emotion, right? So I work with my clients. We work through what is called the model. This is something that is put together by my coach, Brooke Castillo, and the different parts of the model really quickly are, you have your circumstance and then you have your thought about your circumstance. Circumstances are just facts of the world. So, let's just say, for example, you are not working on the project that you set aside time for. Let's just say it's like painting your bedroom wall. Okay. That's the circumstance. You are not working on it. That's a fact. It can be proven in a court of law. A thought about it might be like, it's going to take me too long, or it's so hard, or this is inconvenient, or I would rather be doing something else. Then, that's the thought that you're having about your circumstance. And then an emotion is generated because of that particular thought. If you're thinking this is an inconvenience, I wish I had somebody to work on this with me. I can't believe I have to do this all by myself. Different thoughts will generate different emotions, right? If you think something like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to paint this room, it's going to look amazing. Like, notice, like, the emotion that comes up immediately is like joy and excitement, right? But if you're like, I can't believe I have to do this on my own, I have to cover all the furniture and then, tape the area, and then I have to paint, and who knows how long it's going to take and how many coats. When you think a series of thoughts like that, you generate the emotion of like dread and, like this unpleasantness that you're creating because of your thoughts. And then the actions that follow, right, are as a result of your thoughts. So if you're thinking exciting thoughts, then you're going to be like excited to dive right in, to listen to some great music and put on an old t-shirt and get, started painting, even if it's going to be, taking you, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. You're excited to get working on it, as opposed to if you're thinking negative thoughts, you're not. You're going to delay it. You're going to think of other things to do. And then at the very end is your result. The result is whether the wall got painted or not, right? So I work with my clients through this model: circumstance, thought, emotions or feelings, and then your action, and then results. This is a model that's put together by Brooke Castillo. I'm sure you can look it up. But anyway, so what you do is when you name it, right, you're naming this emotion, it takes away its like sting. It takes away its power over you. And if you realize that you're having the emotion, you become aware of it and you name it, all of a sudden you are like this outside person looking in. You're becoming aware of it. You're no longer judging it. You're like, oh, I see what's going on here. Like, this is fear. This is like fear of uncertainty. This is fear of whatever it is, right? Whatever kind of fear that you might be experiencing in the moment. So let's talk about how to identify your fear, right? So naming the fear, name the fear to tame the fear. One way that I always, tell my clients to start is grab a journal. Anything simple, any simple notebook will do. It does not have to be fancy. Grab a journal or open the Notes app on your phone and ask yourself these questions, okay? What task or goal have I been putting off the most lately? If you're not sure like how to identify your fear, right? This is a good way, this is a simple way to get started. What is a task or a goal that I have been putting off the most lately? Like, get really specific. Don't just say I've been procrastinating. Write down exactly what you've been avoiding, right? I've been avoiding working out. I've been avoiding communicating with, family or friends. I've been avoiding eating healthy. I've been avoiding whatever it is, right? I've been avoiding reading like my books that are sitting on my nightstand. I've been avoiding, just texting a friend or calling a friend and chatting to see how they're doing. So first, do that. And second, if I imagine myself completing this task, what emotion comes up for me? Like, ask yourself, what emotions come up for you if you imagine yourself completing this task? Let's say it's working out, right? So if you decide working out is something you've been putting off a lot lately, ask yourself, how would I be feeling if I imagine myself completing this task? I imagine myself completing working out as like this huge sense of accomplishment, right? Like this great thing. But sometimes if I'm not meeting my own emotional needs, something like working out seems really, really overwhelming, right? So it might be anxiety, it might be overwhelm, it might be embarrassment, right? So ask yourself, if I imagine myself completing that task, what comes up for me? And then number 3, what story am I telling myself about what will happen if I take action? Okay, let me break it down. For example, if I try to fail, I'll look stupid, right? If I succeed, people will expect more from me. If I show up more, I'll disappoint somebody, right? If I go and work out today and tomorrow, I'll be, disappointed if I don't go and work out on the 3rd day. So we're not aware of some of these thoughts we are thinking. It's not just we're thinking one thought and then that creates an emotion and we take action on it. It's actually follow-up thoughts and follow-up thoughts, right? That's what we need to dig through and find out and get curious about. And curiosity is the key word here. If you are judging yourself, or if somebody else is judging you and you are totally giving into that, you're listening to that judgment, then chances are you're just going to stay on the surface level of just feeling that fear and staying away from completing that task. You're not gonna do any investigative work here, right? So again, steps to identifying your fear. Number 1, ask yourself, what task or goal have I been putting off the most? Second, if I imagine myself completing it, what emotion comes up? And third, what story am I telling myself? What thoughts am I thinking about what will happen if I take action? Right? What will happen? I remember there used to be a time where I would basically wear, any color, white or purple or yellow, just beautifully bright colors with, designs and all sorts of stuff. I used to wear anything that I thought looked good on my body. And then there came a time where I gained a bunch of weight. And then I just stayed hidden under certain colors. And I realized that became sort of my style for several years. I would wear things with a lot of florals, a lot of designs. And even to this day, I see that sort of shopping for those sort of outfits sort of sneak in. But now I'm a little bit more aware of it. But the reason that I was doing that is because I was hiding the weight that I had put on my body. Because if I wore something white, or if I wore something yellow, or something that had beautiful embroidery on it, or some sort of beading, that would draw attention to myself, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to draw that attention to myself, right? So it's like, you don't realize it, but it's like a thought behind a thought. And then there's like a series of thoughts. Like, oh my gosh, people will look at me. They'll be like, oh, she looks this way or she looks that way in that outfit. And I would just rather like wear this black dress with like little florals. It's got a little something in it, but I won't stand out too much. Like, imagine saying that to yourself out loud. We would never do that, right? But the thing is, it's so fascinating because we think it, and these thoughts are hidden, and then they stay hidden for year after year after year. In my case, it was over a decade, and I was like, whoa, it's amazing that I thought that and I lived that for so many years, and that fueled basically how I lived my life. It fueled my my inaction to go out there and, get healthy and lose the weight and, work on, thought management, my mind management. Like, it's just amazing. So I'm inviting you to dig through and see what thoughts are hiding behind simple thoughts, right? One way that you can do that is simply ask yourself, okay, what else? Like, imagine you are talking to yourself, right? And some people say, look into the mirror while you do this. For me, that doesn't work. I have to just like sit with myself in silence, maybe with pencil, paper, but ask yourself a question. Doesn't matter what question, like ask yourself a question. Like, what am I thinking right now? Right? And then see what comes up for you. Like, get quiet, wait for a response from within, and then ask yourself, okay, what else? And then you'll see a little bit more comes out. And then you say, okay, what else? I promise you, so much more is going to come up for you. It is absolutely amazing. And you'll be amazed at like all the discoveries, all the things you will learn about yourself, things you didn't know were hidden, right? Okay, let me get back to how to identify your fear. Now, once you answer those 3 questions, right? What specific goal or task have I been avoiding lately the most? If I imagine myself completing that task, what emotions come up for me? And what story am I telling myself about what will happen if I take action? So ask yourself those questions. Then you'll start to see the root fear behind your inaction. So the more you uncover, the more you ask yourself, what else? What else? As if you're just like asking, imagine you're talking to a young child and they're telling you a story and you're like, okay, what else? What else happened? Right? And then they keep going, like they tell you more. The same thing happens with us, right? Because remember, procrastination is not a time issue. It's an emotion regulation issue. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding how it makes you feel. So if you keep asking yourself, oh, okay, what else? What other thoughts are there? Right? How does that make me feel? This other thought, right? What else? Get curious with yourself, my friends, because I'm telling you, it's amazing. Now, coaching, let's talk about the coaching reframe, fear as feedback. So here's a mindset shift that I want you to carry with you. Fear is not your enemy, it's your teacher, okay? Fear is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It's pointing you at something. It's showing you something, right? Fear is feedback. It's showing you where growth is possible, right? When you name the fear, you take away its power to control you. Okay. All right, we get that, right? When you act despite it, you build evidence that you are capable, that you are resourceful, and that you are resilient. Okay? So instead of asking, how do I make the fear go away? Ask yourself, what is this fear trying to teach me? And if you ask yourself this, immediately you're going into curiosity mode. You're not going into like battle. You're not battling fear here. Sit down and get curious about yourself, about these emotions that come up for you, right? Ask yourself, what is this fear trying to teach me? What would courage look like in this moment, right? For me, courage would look like going to bed on time and not scrolling on my phone. Because I have learned that late at night, I will scroll on my phone instead of going to bed because all day I've been so busy and I feel like I have missed out on something. So I feel like I have to scroll and catch up on what, other coaches are posting or my clients might be posting, or what friends and family are saying, and how can I like catch up with them, whose birthday is coming up. I feel like this fear of like missing out, like, oh my gosh, all day I haven't been able to catch up with these people, right? And so it seems so real to me in my head. In this moment, courage would look like putting my phone away and going to bed, right? So that's how you really tame your fear. Not by fighting it, but by befriending it. Maybe that seems a little bit strange at first to like thinking about befriending your fear, but let's just start with a neutral zone here. You're just trying to understand fear, all right? If you're not ready to befriend it yet, it's all right. Just start small, right? So what I want you to do is pick one task you've been putting off, write down the fear story behind it, do one small action anyway, right? Just do it anyway. Even if it's just sending an email, even if it is, doing some sort of like stretching or exercise at home if you have been away from that, even if it is getting up to like replace one thing from your daily meals with something healthy, if that is your desire, if that is your goal to do so. No matter what it is, do one small thing to move forward towards this action and ask yourself, where is this fear? What is it trying to teach me? Where is it trying to take me? Right? And then ask yourself, do I want to go there? Is it even important to me? Right? Is it even important to me? So you don't need to fear. You don't need to feel fearless to start. You just need to move with courage while the fear is still present, right? While the fear is still there. Okay? And I promise you, if you do this at any point in the week, it doesn't matter when you start, by the end of that first week, you will have evidence that fear doesn't have to stop you. And that's how you build unstoppable momentum and focus towards your goal. One little goal at a time, right? All right, friends, you have got this. This is your week to name the fear, to face it, and move forward with confidence. And I am so thankful that you're here, you're listening, and I appreciate, your presence. I appreciate your feedback. Please share this with somebody that you think is having the same struggles as you and I, and we will all do the same thing. We will name the fear to tame it. All right, friends, have an awesome and amazing day and week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.